Okay, welcome to Third Thursday. This is PickFu's monthly discussion with our co-founders John Lee and Justin Chen. My name is Kim Kohatsu. Today, what we want to talk about is gearing up for Q4, which I can't believe we are on the brink of. But for online sellers, we know Q4 is just a huge, huge opportunity. This year with the weirdness of the pandemic, there are rumors that Amazon Prime Day will be next month, followed quickly behind by Black Friday and Cyber Monday. And so today, what we want to talk about is ideas to get your e-commerce listings in tip-top shape in time for that increased traffic, in time for that holiday rush. So as always, if you have questions as we go, you write them in the comments and we will address them live. If you are watching the replay, you can still comment, you can still ask questions, even if you just want to say hi so we know somebody's watching, that's great. But if you do that on the replay, just know it will take a little bit longer to get to your questions. So let's go ahead and get started because we have some exciting news to share. So in the spirit of prepping for Q4, we just launched our first ever bundle and save sale. That's going to run through the end of October. And in our, over 12-year history, this is the first time we're doing this. So Justin, why don't you tell us a little bit about the sale?
Yeah, so the bundles are basically a preset number of polls. And we've got bundles for people who are doing e-commerce, people who are authors, or even people who are doing mobile apps or games. And basically, what you're buying is a set of polls that has prepaid credit to run a particular type of poll. And so we've got suggestions on the things that you could do. For example, in the seller starter pack, we suggest testing your main image and your title and your description against Amazon Prime members. And so we've set it up so that you can pre-purchase that, essentially that amount of credit and at a discount. So the big thing is that these bundles come with a discount built into it, and you'll be able to run those three types of polls. The types of polls that we suggest they are a suggestion. So if you decide to modify the polls as you're running it, like that's totally fine. If you want to do 100 responses instead of 50, like that's fine. They'll just be the appropriate upcharge, but the prepaid credit that you bought through the bundle, like, will already still be applied.
Right. Excellent. And because we're talking about e-commerce, what bundles, John, do we have for e-commerce specifically?
Right. So because we're talking about e-commerce and prepping for Q4, we have three specific bundles targeted for e-commerce sellers. So again, like what Justin mentioned, the first one is the seller starter pack. And that is, if you're just starting off and you want to optimize a single listing, the bundle includes three polls. Each one will be preset with for two options, testing against each other with an audience of 50 Amazon Prime members. And our suggestion is that you use these three included polls for one, testing your best main image, two, testing your product title, and then number three, testing your product description. And so with this bundle of three polls in the starter pack, this is a really good setup to really sort of fine tune a single listing within your library of listings on Amazon. The second one for second bundle for e-commerce sellers is what we call the listing tune-up. So this is more about identifying areas of improvement in your listing. So this bundle has 5 PickFu polls. Each poll credit includes 50 Amazon Prime members evaluating a single option. So all of these by default are solo polls. So there's a couple of different questions you could ask here, and you can choose from. You can mix and match any way you want. One is to identify areas for improvement, asking our panelists to review your listing and bring up other questions they might have that maybe your listing information is not covering about your product. Another option is to actually ask a very specific question about a specific piece of creative. For example, if you have an image that's trying to convey luxuriousness, you could literally put that up as your single option, ask our panelists, how clearly does this image convey the idea that this product is luxurious? Or another idea is to evaluate product videos. If you have product videos in your listing, then you could use the polls from this listing tune-up bundle to evaluate those product videos. Now, the third bundle we're offering that we suggest is the competitive analysis pack. So this bundle is 5 PickFu polls. Again, each poll is 50 Amazon Prime members. But here we're suggesting that you upload and include 4 options for our panelists to review. So a couple ideas here that you could use for competitive analysis on the types of polls you could run. One, you could test directly how your product performs against others, yours and then 3 other competitors, or basically test your titles as well instead of just your images, or test your product descriptions against each other between yours and 3 other listings. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. And like we said, you can mix and match these. You can, customize them. But what we've done here is we've built these packs based around what we've seen successful sellers doing and what we think that, it would be really beneficial at this time of year. And what I want to do now is I want to go through a couple of examples just to show you some of these suggestions in real life and what you can use these bundles for. And what I want to do is I want to start off with the winner of this month's free poll giveaway. Now, every month on third Thursday, we are happy to run a free poll for you. And the 3 of us will do an analysis. And if you would like to enter to win, I put the link there and you can enter to win there. This month's winner is a seller named Anu. And Anu wrote in frustrated because she's got this product that she tested on PickFu, and PickFu helped her, perfect her photos. It helped her improve her title, and everything on the listing is looking great, but it's just not converting. And so Anu wrote in and she said, "What can I do?" And what I wanted to do was take a look at Anu's product and the poll that I ran for her. So this is her product. I didn't know that this existed, but if you think about like a big party, like a wedding or something where there's a big balloon arch, this is a product that helps you create that lovely balloon arch. And what I didn't know, because again, I had no idea a product like this existed, is most of these balloon arch strips are made of plastic. And Anu's product is made of cotton. And so that means it's reusable, it's more sustainable, et cetera. So she's like, I've got this great product and it's just not converting. What can I do? And so I went on Amazon and I just started looking around. Again, I have no familiarity with this product. I've never created a balloon arch in my life. And I found this, which has the Amazon's Choice badge. It's got over 1,500 ratings. It's doing great. And so I said, okay, why don't we do a competitive test and see, how things stack up? Because maybe there's something we can learn from what this bestseller is doing right. And what I did was I took a screenshot of the bestseller. And here's a pro tip for all of you out there. What I did was I actually took a white box. I did this in preview, and I covered up the Amazon's Choice badge, the price, the star rating. And the reason I did that is because these are things that we can't control. And if I were to say, which product would you buy, Anu's or this one, then surely a ton of people would say, I'd buy this one because it's cheaper, or I'd buy this one because it has more ratings, right? And we kind of already know that, and we don't want to waste those responses. And so to kind of normalize everything, I basically just wanted to strip that out, right? Let's just see product to product, what can we do? And I did the exact same thing for Anu's. I covered up the price, the reviews, all of that stuff. Like I said, that's a little bit out of our control. And I ran this PickFu poll with 50 Amazon Prime members who are women. And I said, which of these two products would you rather buy? And, you know, Anu, if you're watching, this is going to infuriate you because it's exactly what you're seeing, right? Everybody thinks that your product, your photos, your description, everything is better, right? You blew this product away by a mile, but it's beating you in sales, right? And that's infuriating. So I was like, okay, I want to go about this another way. What can I do here? And what I did is I went back to Amazon and I, you know, I did a search, balloon strips for, you know, for arches. And I took a look at what that looks like, right? And I found here's that product that we were looking at, you know, and then I found yours. And I found it within the sponsored results, right? And so what I did was I said, okay, well, let's take a look at these sponsored results because obviously these are the kinds of products that you are competing against in that space. You know, and this is part of, there's a term out there called the digital shelf, right? If you think about things in a store, in a grocery store, you think about them on a shelf and it's a bunch of brands next to each other. And as a shopper, you know, you have to go through and, you know, you have to go through and you have to choose them. And so what I did was I took a screenshot of what that looked like. And I ran what is a pretty new offering here at PickFu called a click test. So John, can you kind of just run us through what a click test is?
Yeah, so a click test is something we've been wanting to do at PickFu for a long time. It's effectively taking one image and putting it in front of our panel and asking them a question where their way to respond to your question is to click anywhere between 1 to 10 times in this click. And in this case, I think it was 4 clicks. And then what we're going to be able to do is we will record all the clicks from our panelists in addition to the written explanation, because it's PickFu, every respondent provides a written explanation, and we will combine all the clicks and provide you a heat map. So the click test is an awesome way to get, you know, basically to get sort of a quick view of how the panelists view a series of, like a large image, or in this case, a series of images in their proper context. Now, right. Yeah, and so again, here in this case, we removed the price and the ratings. But you know, it's not a perfect apples to apples comparison, but it is and because the products are different, but it's still a fair question because these ads are right next to each other, right? Mm-hmm. So here with the click test, we're able to have our panelists view them living side to side. Now, from this test, what you can see here, Anu, with your ad on the right side, is that your ad isn't stacking up against the others. So we read through these comments, and what you can glean from them, basically trying to figure out what do shoppers like about the other products. Like, for example, can you create a kit product to compete? Or maybe can you like spell out 200 glue dots in one of the images, I believe.
Yeah, so if you see here in the second image, what one of the competitive sellers did was it spelled out "Happy Birthday" in balloons. I mean, and what a lot of people who did, you know, choose a news product, they were like, oh, 200 glue dots, that's kind of cool, you know. Right. I felt like, you know, people were really drawn to just this idea of a lot of stuff, totally. Right? They just like that kit mentality, right? So is there a way to kind of kit it up a little bit, or at least kind of convey that you get more, you get bulk, you get something, you know? So again, you know, the product as it existed, it comes with 200 glue dots. So maybe play that up.
Yeah. I mean, that ties into also one of the things that we see constantly at PickFu with main images here is that the more of the white space and the more of the frame that you can fill, generally the better the images do. And if you're selling a kit, show as much of the kit as possible.
Right. Yeah. And as I'm scrolling through these responses, you know, you can see, you know, this particular respondent and how and how this person, clicked this result. But what, as I'm scrolling, what I hope you notice is your product keeps coming up 3, 4, somewhere towards the bottom. And so, as much as it is, your listing looks great, you're not getting enough people to the listing. And so it's more about standing out on that view. Yeah, and so, these are things, again, Amazon is a marketplace. And so there's things that are a little bit out of your control, like your competition. But, there's other things that you can do just proactively to try to improve. So I don't know if you're brand registered, but perhaps, you look at A+ content, or, I don't know. Do you guys have other suggestions?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're able to add A+ content to your page, or a product video, depending on what capabilities you have, it seemed like a lot of the other competitors had that kind of content, and it would definitely help the conversions of people who do actually click on your listing. So I think there's a few areas to improve here. Obviously, in working towards getting more product reviews would help. We're not showing the reviews here, but that is always a factor on the digital shelf. So yeah, I think, like you said, like the listing can look great, but if no one's landing on the listing, you really can't get them to convert. So I think as long as you focus on a test like this that puts it in the proper context, and I think that's what's great about the click test, is that it does put it in the proper context of what order you're currently placing in sponsored results, and having the image and the title show up as you would see it in real life.
Yeah, if you want to run your own click test, go to PickFu. Only, choose one option. So use a PickFu solo poll. So instead of a comparison poll, just do the one option, and then you'll see the click test in there. Okay, so I want to go through, before we move on though, I just, one more mention, Anu, I hope that was helpful to you. If you would also like us to run a similar analysis for you, go to that link, the Third Thursday link, and enter to win. And we will do this, the same kind of analysis for you next month. All right, let's go to the second example. John, why don't you take us through this?
Yeah, so this is an example about testing product titles. So in this case, the product is a shredded memory foam camping pillow. And so this is one of the types of polls that we suggest you could run with our e-commerce Q4 bundles. Now here you see they're testing 2 different potential titles for their camping pillow. One is talking about ideal for relieving neck pain. That's for option A. Free of toxic chemicals. Option B, talking about that it, sort of the durability, right? Retains its shape for over 5 years. Also mentions that it's free of toxic chemicals and smell, and it's adjustable. And so these are both really solid titles, and titles that I can imagine seeing any product selling on Amazon using. Now, this is an interesting situation, right? Because here the seller is selling camping pillows, and they're able to target Amazon Prime members who are hikers. So they're really hitting that exact segment of target customer and trying to get feedback from them. Now, this might have been a little frustrating initially when our customers saw the results here, because as you can see, the scores are pretty close. There's 54 for B and then 46 for option A. So what do you do in a situation here where you've run a poll, you're putting up options that are different, but then the numerical scores are pretty similar? That's where diving into the comments really helps. And so if you dive into the comments as we did, and you can basically see, if we're going through the comments, that the people who liked option A, or the people who liked one option, liked it for very different reasons from the people who liked the other option. So there were preferences on both sides, and you had this split camp situation where the people who liked option A liked it because it called out these certain features. For example, like some comments, like we saw one, as a back pain sufferer, I'm drawn to the relieving neck or back pain statement first. Or, when I'm camping, relieving neck and back pain is the least of my concerns. And so that's why option A is a more appealing choice. We're talking about, ultralight and compact is more important for me than saying that it's hypoallergenic, right? Everyone has their preferences and everyone is drawn to certain different things. And because most of this feedback came from personal preferences and actually directly contradicted what the other side was saying, where they had their personal preferences, then it can be a challenge to try to figure out what to do here. But based on so one thing that the seller could do here, knowing that generally the camps are split between these two, is that they could go with option B, the one that won, even ever so slightly, but they could go with option B, but make sure that the features in option A that the respondents were drawn to, make sure that those features, if they're not called out in option B's title, make sure that they're included as key description bullet points. So therefore, people click through, for the people who prefer the features in option B, they see that in the title. And for everyone else who like things from option A, they're gonna see that right at the top of your description.
Right, yeah, and another, great application for that is in your secondary images, right? In your infographics. I mean, that should inform you that these are both viable features to feature.
Yep.
And so you want to make sure to cover those bases, even if, perhaps like you said, it's not necessarily in the title itself.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So we also, have some really great resources on the PickFu blog. We have other tips to run your titles. So I do encourage you to go to this link and see those. But as I was just talking about, infographics are really important. So Justin, why don't you take us through this example?
Yeah, so kind of following up on what you just said about highlighting the different features, it's really important that your secondary images highlight those points that people might be looking for. So we do talk a lot about main images because they can impact your click-through rate on the digital shelf, but to actually get the conversion, that's where the secondary images are really important. So definitely don't forget about iterating and testing them. And so this poll is really interesting because it highlights 3 very different approaches to an infographic. And we generally do try to suggest that when you're starting to iterate on something that you try different approaches first before just like iterating on very minute adjustments, right? So if you're working with a designer, try to get them to try different layouts and different color schemes and even different information, because I think there's a lot of ways to emphasize things. So you can get examples from other listings that you might be competing with, but definitely start with a broad approach first. So I think what's interesting about this is that definitely that they're doing 3 conceptually different designs. And they want to know which one best communicates that the product is compatible with all these different gaming platforms, which is an important aspect of the product that they're selling. So one of the respondents said, I like C because it explains them one by one in the diagram, and that's the one that did win. And it shows that each one then it shows each gaming platform and then the device on the side, which is a much more visual representation and easier for people to scan, which is exactly what you want in an infographic. And now that you see the winner of what infographic structure is working best, you can go iterate on more minute details around, wording or different colors and whatnot. But again, start from the more broad approach of the layout and then kind of go towards that direction.
Right. Yeah. So as you dig through these comments, a lot of respondents said, yeah, I really like C, but it's a little dark,
Yeah.
And so maybe you just go through and you think about a few other options. Maybe you pick up what was working, in some of the others, and you iterate. And the great thing about these bundles is that, it's more than one poll. And so now that's really easy to do. If you buy a bundle, then that iteration is going to be more affordable and it's going to be easy for you. All of the bundles will just live right there in your PickFu account to use over the next couple of months. And that will be awesome for you. So before we close today, I do want to give the audience watching a last chance to ask any questions, to put up any comments. And while I give you some time to do that, I do want to draw your attention to something else that we've just published on our blog, which is, we talked a little bit about the digital shelf, and we've got a case study up there that I think is really interesting. And so, you can definitely check that out if you're interested. We did talk about a main image and how that had really interesting results on Amazon, out there in the real world. Okay, and so just one last time, go and get your PickFu bundle. They are only available until October 31st, so don't sleep on this one. And if there's nothing else, it looks like we haven't seen any comments, so we will see you next month on Third Thursday. Thanks for tuning in.